sometimes we don't have enough information and enough vision from the past to visualize a more glorious future. We just evolve into it, and pretty soon we blink and we say, oh my gosh, I could do that.
Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Leslie Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Leslie as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions. Welcome back to Women We Should Know, where episode after episode, we strive to bring you the voices of women who are audacious, who color outside of the lines, who are challenging the status quo by refusing to climb into boxes that were created by someone other than them. Women who have made a difference in the world and are continuing to make a difference in the world. Women who are committed to uplifting other women in every way that they can, professionally and personally. And today we have just such a woman for you. Jane Bradley, whose handle is "Age is Just a Number," is a third-generation New Mexican. The love of art and a natural talent made a BFA a natural choice. After great success as a studio artist and gallery owner in Santa Fe, Jane became fascinated by the process of business. This interest led to additional education, followed by other varying and successful business endeavors. Curiosity is the one word that most clearly defines Jane's life. This curiosity led to many professional and personal successes, from moving to a small hamlet in Arkansas with her wonderful Prince Charming, to becoming the executive director of the Genesis Business Incubator at the University of Arkansas, once named top business incubator in the world, and that was during her tenure, to moving to Russia during Perestroika and working with technology transfer, to returning to her much beloved and missed New Mexico. Each new challenge was attacked with enthusiasm and determination. Jane is the consummate serial entrepreneur and has been taking these strides since long before the majority of women, opening pathways for those of us who would follow. Hi, Jane. So nice to have you with us.
It's wonderful to be here today, Leslie.
Well, certainly. Everybody just got to hear your bodacious bio. You have been around the world. You have done amazing things. Congratulations for going out there and grabbing life by the tail.
Well, thank you for saying that. I don't know if I grabbed life by the tail or life grabbed me by some part of my anatomy and said, let's go play.
Chicken and the egg, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At whichever way it happened, it has been quite a ride.
Yes, it has been quite a ride. I love the stories, and I'm sure our listeners are fascinated having heard everywhere you've been and everything you've done. I wanted to speak a little bit because you wrote a wonderful piece in On the Shoulders of Mighty Women to help women understand the power and the importance of mentoring, and most importantly, how to identify a great mentor. So I'd love to spend just a few minutes on that.
Absolutely.
What has mentoring meant to you in your lifetime, both as a recipient and as a mentor?
I am such an advocate for women. I have had some women in my life who have helped me, a high school speech teacher. I couldn't have been Jane Bradley had I not met her at the age of 16. And she taught me how to become a debater, a champion, an award-winning debater while in high school. But I think about other mentors. I happen to have had a cowboy dad, a cowboy rancher, who gave me words of wisdom in a very folksy, gentle way all of my life. And then my cowboy medical doctor husband, who also mentored me in just wisdom, words of wisdom throughout our marriage. And he would say, why don't you just let that go and set that on a shelf for a couple of days and see if attrition won't fix it? And you know, he was almost always right.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been mentored, and I have, by happenstance and by plan, been a mentor as a vocation and an avocation. And isn't that wonderful? It's like playing at your work and working at your play.
It's the truth. One mentor to another. You've been doing it longer than me, but you are absolutely correct.
Yes, I think the value of having a mentor, a coach learns a method. A coach has a very clearly defined agenda.
Mm-hmm.
A mentor is someone who meets with you, who cares about you,
Mm-hmm.
who is a trusted advisor,
Mm-hmm.
and they meet with you on a regular basis, and they listen to you. That's the first quality of a good mentor, is someone who knows how to listen and take it all in. So many people listen to you, but they only listen to you for when you stop talking so they can tell you what they think about the topic. A mentor doesn't do that. So a good mentor is someone who listens to you and then helps you work through the best solution for you. And there is no one size fits all. In coaching, for business, or in your personal life, there are rules that if you apply these rules, you're probably going to get this or that outcome. Mentoring does not work that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's very individualized and personalized, and is designed, one caring person to another, to have the best outcome for the mentee.
That's right.
Not a statistic for the mentor to say, oh, the people I mentor are 97% successes. That's not the objective. So there's a big difference.
There is a big difference. And that's why mentors must work one-on-one.
Absolutely. It does not
Coaches
work.
can work with a group, but if you are,
No, it does not work with
must work one-on-one.
It's very personal. And you know, it's like marriages. Marriage counselors can do group therapy or one-on-one and individual. But every case is different. While there may be categories that you work on, in mentoring, it's that same deeply personal. And when I mentor, I'm right now mentoring 19 people every month, an hour to an hour and a half each one. It's on the days I mentor, I'm mostly fried by night, because you can't do this in a caring way without a lot of emotional involvement.
That's right.
I keep a notebook. In fact, I have it right here because tomorrow is one of my mentoring days. And see this beautiful notebook?
Oh, isn't that cute?
Isn't that great? On the inside, see all these notes and scribbles? As I'm mentoring, and we do it on Zoom, I listen to them and I take notes. And the first 10 minutes of next month's mentoring session will be involved with their accountability points.
Right.
Because if I'm investing my time and my heart and my love for them, they better turn up and be accountable to what they said they would work on and do and report to me. Isn't that that's a neat thing to ask of a mentor, is to keep accountability points and check in, and don't be a sissy about it. If they're not doing their accountability points, call them on it. That's a good
Absolutely.
mentor.
Absolutely. And I can imagine that someone out there in our listener audience is thinking, well, but I pay them. What difference does it make? It makes a difference as to whether or not you're going to get anything out of it. And if you're not, we need to give someone else your slot, right, Jane?
Do you know how I feel about that, Leslie?
I would like to hear.
Yes, I think you say, oh, well, people pay you. There's not enough money to pay you to care about somebody.
That's right.
And love somebody. However, there are mentors and there are coaches and there are a lot of things, people in the world that have spent a lifetime learning through formal education, certification classes, going to seminars, whatever, however we got where we are.
Learned by being kicked through fences and getting back up and starting over again.
Absolutely. You know, I was raised on a ranch, so falling off the horse and getting back on. You're not paying me for what you're getting. You are buying some of my time.
That's right.
And when you go to the grocery store and you're out of dishwashing soap, you go buy a bottle because you need that to wash your dishes. That's a simplistic analogy, but it's so true. You are not paying the mentor for their love and concern and what you're getting because it's invaluable. No matter what you charge or I charge, what they're getting is of so much more value. What they're actually paying for is some of our valuable time that we're willing to share with them. They, in turn, are going to be enhanced in their business and their personal life so they can make more money. Thereby, their time becomes more valuable to the people they work with. Does that theory make sense to you?
Absolutely. And not only are they going to be more successful in business, they're going to be more successful in their lives. They're going to find more peace in their lives. And the reason I wanted to start with this, Jane, is because I was just reading yet another article in Harvard Business Review speaking to the fact that the majority of women, even top leaders, are still resistant to mentorship, where men run for it everywhere they can get it. It is so important for women to step up their game by getting mentorship, because this is a way that they speak to themselves about how much they value themselves. Exactly.
And may I suggest to all of our girlfriends out there, you and I aren't just talking on a podcast. So full disclosure, Leslie and I are girlfriends. We've known each other for a number of years. We like each other. We support each other. We encourage each other. We try to help keep each other on the path. Is that mentoring each other? You bet you it is. But one of the things I would like to suggest to all of our girlfriends listening today is the way to see the value of having a mentor for yourself is you go find a young woman, a college graduate, someone who is young in business and is lost, is just lost. And you see potential and you say, let me be your mentor. And don't talk about money. Mentor someone. And as you begin to mentor someone, you will say, who's telling me these good things? I need someone at the next level above me, as I'm at a level above this younger woman I'm working with. That will help all of our audience realize the true value of mentorship is we give and we receive.
Oh, Jane, as always, that is a brilliant suggestion. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, I know you do still have 19 people you work with, but you're moving forward or moving to a different place now. I know you have shared that you're not in pursuit of opening more time slots for mentees at this point. These are people you've been with for and who have been with you for a long time, yes?
You know, Leslie, I said that when I had 5, and I said it when I had 10, and I said it when I had 15. Because of my personal kind of faith, I think every time someone is sent to me, it may be sent by the universe. My own belief is that God may have some reason for putting someone in my life. And when that happens, I better not turn it down. I get as much as I give. And I don't think that we're ever too busy to do one more thing. I think we're too busy to do any of the things we don't like to do. I mean, I'm almost always out of gas because I never have time to stop and fill up my car. If we have something we want to do personally or professionally, we always have time to do it. This past year, I have missed my undergraduate work is a BFA,
Right.
Bachelor of Fine Arts. That qualifies you in life, ladies and gentlemen, to do 2 things: teach school or starve. And I didn't want to do either one of those things. So I opened a gallery in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is known for its art galleries, and started painting when I was in my late 20s. And decided that I loved art, but I loved the business part of art as much as I loved the painting. But I've missed the creativity. So this past year, I took on 2 new art students in watercolor. Now, do I have time to do that one afternoon a week? I didn't know where the time was going to come, but guess what?
It came.
I put it on my calendar. I blocked that time out on my calendar, and there it is. We have time for what's important.
Yes, that's right. That's absolutely true. And that is true in terms of our personal lives and our business lives. And
Exactly.
Women are so prone to let business overtake their identity. So I appreciate your story of putting your art back in your professional,
Yes.
your professional world. Now, speaking of professional worlds, you have been a serial entrepreneur since women were entrepreneurial.
Yeah, since it was not really acceptable. I remember when I was married to my first husband. I'm glad we don't have to say how many followed, but all of my children's father, we were at a party and I was doing very, very well and our family attorney had suggested that I incorporate to protect our family assets because I had several locations of art in downtown Santa Fe. I had just signed incorporation papers and I was so proud of myself, and we went to a party. And my husband said, well, to a group of people, well, Jane is now president, Jane, of this Southwest Arts. And one of his best friends turned and said, anything to keep the little woman out of trouble.
Ooh,
Ooh.
oh no.
Oh yeah, talk about sticking a pin in your balloon.
Mhm.
That did it. And I thought, if my husband had had the same kind of desire or ambition, he wouldn't have been an engineer for the telephone company. He would have started his own engineering firm, which he was certainly smart enough to do. But he was happy and content in the way of life he had chosen. But if he had incorporated, I would have been telling people, and people would have been patting him on the back and congratulating him. This was many, many years ago. And it was sort of made fun of or belittled.
Of course
Or-
it was.
Yes. And because I was young and I hadn't
were-
learned,
Let's call it what it is, Jane. You were female.
I was female, and I was made to feel like we always supported the male in our lives, our brothers, our fathers, our husbands, our whatever. But by gosh, I had 2 sons and 2 daughters, and I made certain that the girls in my family knew that they had every right to be as important as they wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
How did we get off on that, Leslie?
Well, I don't know. It had something to do with sticking a pin in it.
I think we were
But
talking.
I actually appreciate the substance of the story, which is that you started being an entrepreneur back in the day when it was publicly acceptable for men to belittle women in that type of environment, but you didn't stop there. You kept going.
Leslie, we started talking about mentors, but let's talk about entrepreneurs for just a moment. People who are entrepreneurs because they must be.
That's right.
They're not because they want to be, because they just are compelled. People who are entrepreneurs are a different breed.
They are.
As I mentioned earlier, I've come from a New Mexico ranching family, and early ranchers that took up homesteads in the territory. When my grandfather came to New Mexico, it was not a state. It was part of the Indian Territory.
Yep.
It was before 1912. And those are the original entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Those people. And you talk about the pioneers, and we see the men, but it was the women that made that opening of the West possible. The men did the work, the heavy lifting, but the women came with them to take care of the families, to do the cooking, to do the laundry, to keep the families and the communities and the societies going, to start the churches,
Intact.
start the churches, start the schools, to make certain that community grew. If not, there'd have been a bunch of tobacco spitting cowboys sitting around the campfire sleeping in tents without the women.
Mhm.
And yet when we think of the opening of the West, we think of Wyatt Earp,
Cowboys.
the heroes. When the women when the people who really opened the West were the women.
And that's why we're here on Women We Should Know. That's
That-
why you and I got together with some other women and wrote a book called On the Shoulders of Mighty Women, because it's always been the women. And now it's our turn to stand out front and claim it.
Absolutely. And stand up for each other. Leslie,
Yes.
I have admired you over the course of our long friendship because you are such an advocate of women helping, women supporting, women getting out there and being in the trenches with other women. And that has not always been the case. Sometimes women have not always been the best friends of other women. They have not been the ones who've pushed us forward in our careers and in our goals and in our dreams and visions. You have been such an advocate for women helping women. And for our listeners today, I just encourage you to take a page out of Leslie's book, and it shines through in her book, On the Shoulders of Mighty Women. It shines through when she talks about women acknowledging, before we can support, we must acknowledge the success. When I see one of my mentees that is just doing so well, it feels like my personal success.
Isn't that the truth?
It's like,
That's the best truth.
yeah, it's like one of my kids succeeding.
I make a joke that I never gave birth, but I've had hundreds of kids. Well, thank you, Jane. That was, thank you. That was a beautiful accolade. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Quite unexpected. That's not where I thought we were going, but thank you. And I want to talk, if we can just turn a corner just a little bit. And this is something you speak to eloquently and succinctly. And that is, and this is particularly important for women, because we can truly get on our own cases. When things go wrong, and things will go wrong, the world is not over. The game is not over. Right, Jane?
Exactly. I was brought up in the world of cliches. When a door is closed, to look for a window, you know, that kind of cliche.
Mm-hmm.
So many times in my life, I have thought, this is it forever. And 8 months later, I'm living in another state. I'm doing something totally different. That it never occurred to me. Leslie, I'm sure you shared with your listeners, after the death of my beloved husband, Dr. Bill Bradley, I just thought I couldn't go on. And the next thing I knew, I had this fabulous job at the University of Arkansas. And after that, a series of circumstances that are bizarre. I was working in Russia as president of a football team playing in the EFL, and I don't even like football.
I'm so glad I didn't share that, because I wanted you to. That's such a personal story for you.
And it happened because of connections.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I think we should never discount is the value of our connections. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. Your success is dependent on those connections you make in your life and how you honor them and how you value them. And you try to give more than you get back all the time.
Always.
And through one of those connections, I had a friend, a male friend, who bought a football team, and it was losing a ton of money. And so I was hired as a consultant to travel around Europe with a football team and see if I could figure out how to make it profitable. Turns out there was no way. So I helped dismantle. But when I was a little girl on a ranch in Santa Rosa, New Mexico, it never occurred to me. I didn't even know where Russia was. It never occurred to me that that might be a dream. I think our dreams and our vision evolve like our intellect and our experiences allow, if that makes sense to people. Sometimes we don't have enough information and enough vision from the past to visualize a more glorious future. We just evolve into it, and pretty soon we blink and we say, oh my gosh, I could do that.
Absolutely.
Why don't I go to Russia? No reason. So there I was.
There you were.
Yeah, things happen. And then it's up to us what we do with what happens.
Yeah.
You know, some people say, oh, Jane, you've been so lucky in your life. My cowboy rancher dad used to always say, the harder I work, the luckier I get. But you know, I've been awful damn lucky. So I guess it's a little of both, isn't it?
Well, I think we make our luck. I come from that school of thought that we make our luck by how we live.
And another thing that I think is involved in that luck and that success in life, and success is how gratified you are, how much you smile.
Mhm.
Success is one of those unquantifiables. So if we're making our own success, there is that, but there is also the being open to the surprise, the creativity, and being brave enough to step into. How many times, Leslie, have you let me? Now I'm interviewing you. Look at that. I can't help myself.
You're not interviewing me. We're friends. We're having one of those conversations that we have.
I can't help myself. So, how many times in your life have you changed directions and said, you know, you're a fabulous coach for women. You are a fabulous women's coach. But do you intend to do that all your life and only that? No, you've changed directions so many times. And I'm fascinated by, I think it takes courage. It takes that little bit extra. I don't quite know what that ingredient is.
Mm-hmm.
Chutzpah. Chutzpah is a good word.
Oh, I've been accused of that many times.
Yes.
And moxie.
Yes. And parts of the male anatomy that we won't say in this podcast.
It is so true. And reflecting back on what you said a few minutes ago about entrepreneurialism, this is the third conversation I've had this week with a woman who said, yeah, entrepreneurialism is a calling. It's not, we don't go and do it because we decide to do it. We do it because we can't not do it.
Yes.
And if you find that you are one of those women who keeps being led in that direction and then you keep backing up, I encourage you to go for it. And I'm sure Jane would too. Find yourself a mentor and go for it, because if entrepreneurialism is calling you, I suspect you'll never be fully satisfied until you jump into the pool.
We are, after COVID, Leslie, we have all had a mental adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've all been to the chiropractor in our life and had a spinal adjustment. I think we've had a mental adjustment that was as painful as any car wreck, whiplash we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And that mental adjustment is, we want a better life going forward.
Yes.
Because we were tracking along with our lives, whether we were entrepreneurs or school teachers or all those valuable people that keep our societies running. And all of a sudden, our government, the world leaders said, you got to shut it down. We're staying home, shut down business, give some people some money. And all of a sudden, we didn't know who we were or what we were supposed to do every morning at 10 o'clock when we normally would have been doing something else. After we lived through that, most of us.
To that in order for the majority of us to stay alive.
That's right. And during that time, we found out that we had time forced on us to think about who we are, what rings our bell, what we really want out of life. Is it more money? With me, it's always, I can always use more shoes. You can never have too many shoes or pairs of cowboy boots.
Or combat boots in my case.
Combat boots in your case. Or turquoise jewelry. There's always things to want. But what do we really at our core want? And that's when I decided, I kept on mentoring. I went to Zoom and all through COVID. And I thought of everything I do except paint. This gives me the greatest sense of satisfaction because I can see the result of what I'm doing and the progress of these young men and women I'm working with. And that gives me a sense of satisfaction that money can't buy.
And speaking of when things go wrong, and things will go wrong, there's having a global pandemic is the Eiffel Tower of things going wrong on an international basis.
Absolutely. Most of the time, Leslie, in our lives, for those of us who have studied personality typology through our learning our why or our Enneagram number or what our astrological sign is or whatever we believe in, whatever that number is, we have to take our own responsibility.
Yes.
For what we are, what we have been, and what we will be. We don't have to be what we were when we were 30 or 40. We don't have to.
Pre-COVID.
That's right. And maybe we don't know exactly what we want to be, but we can have a vision. There's something that, when you say that things will go wrong, all my life I've loved words. So what does wrong mean? When things go as unplanned.
That's
when
right.
Things go as unexpected. When things go in a way that is not under your control. And for those of us,
right,
like everybody on this podcast, who are kind of control freaks, when things
you don't have to tell everything,
Well, speaking for myself only.
Oh, sure.
But when things aren't under our control,
that's right,
then we have to search for new strengths within ourselves, for new resources outside of ourselves, mentoring, reading books on the shoulders of mighty women, and getting, my favorite kind of reading is biography and autobiography. A wonderful book that's out of print the name of it is Mabel. It's written by Emily Hahn, and it's about Mabel Dodge Lujan in Taos in the early years when she married Tony Lujan, a Taos Native American gentleman. So, when you look at her life, starting off as one of the 3 or 4 richest women in the world. And what she did with her life after so many other things that proved to be her most satisfying part of her life.
Mhm.
If we read and we look for resources outside of ourselves, that I think is real progress.
I agree. And on that note, I just discovered a book by someone I do admire and respect, not a woman, and that's okay because we don't dislike men here. We just
Oh God, no,
helping
I love men.
But there's a man by the name of Emmanuel Acho, and he's written a new book called, oh gosh, it just went out of my head. But he talks about, it'll come back. He talks about the fact that setting goals is a terrible idea because goals have ceilings. You are setting
Oh, I love that.
Yes, you are setting yourself up to hit the wall. Instead, set objectives. Set objectives because objectives are open-ended and they are more robust. They're not just, I'm going to do this after this, after this, after this.
So if I could do 2 minutes of I did a training seminar for a large company last year, and it was so well received that I did it for a group of people in New Mexico, and it was setting intentions. And what most of us do, we get up every day or every week and we write down a list of to-dos.
Mhm.
And then we start and we cross them all off and we feel really good about ourselves.
Right.
But maybe not one thing on that list did one thing to make us a better person, to make us more satisfied with our
Right.
life, or to move our business forward. Maybe it was just busy work, so we could cross them off.
Mhm.
They had no attachment to a goal or an intention or anything else. So I had this idea, if you turn that model upside down, and every week, every month, you set your big intention for yourself personally. And, I want to be a better person. I want to exercise more. I want to,
Right.
whatever your intention is in life and in business, and you write 3 of those down. And then under each one of the intentions, you write 3 goals.
Objectives. Let's call them objectives. Yes.
Objectives. And there are 3 of those. And then under those 3 objectives are to-do list. And so the to-do list now makes sense.
It has relevance.
Yes, it's leading you somewhere. It's not
That's right.
just doing to stay busy, but it has your word relevance. Perfect. And so I encourage all of the people that are watching us today to start thinking about, throw your to-do list away, toss your goals out the window, and think, what is my big intention? How is
Yeah.
it relevant to what I'm doing today? And am I doing just busy stuff to stay busy? Or is it really relevant, Leslie's word, to my intentions for who I want to be, what I want to do, and my accomplishments?
Yes. That's a wonderful way to end our segment, because as you and I know, we could sit here till next week. Of course, we'd have to order a drink at some point, but we could sit here until next week and carry on. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to re-implement that myself, because it doesn't matter how long we've been out there mentoring others. We can always receive a little mentoring ourselves. I always tell individuals the first thing to do when you're interviewing a potential mentor is ask them if they have a mentor. the answer always needs to be yes.
Yes.
So
A trusted advisor.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Jane, my dear friend, thank you
Yes.
for coming and playing today.
Oh, I have enjoyed every second of this. You know, Leslie, one day we won't be here.
No, we won't.
If we have made a difference in the lives of 3 or 4 younger women, and they go out and make a difference in the lives of 3 or 4 younger women, then we have counted. Our lives have counted.
That's right.
And I think that's one of my intentions, is to make my life count.
Yes, that's my objective. The name of that book is Illogical.
Illogical.
Illogical. I encourage everyone to read it. It's one of those very short, easy read books that hits you in a profound way. And watch for On the Shoulders of Mighty Women. I'm very proud of it. And Jane contributes beautifully, something incredibly powerful, as do all the women. It's a group of women coming together, bringing our individual genius, because every woman has genius. It's just a matter of noticing what yours is and playing in that sandbox as often as possible.
Being open to receive the blessing of other fabulous women becoming your best friends and hanging out with you and having real conversations like this has been today. Thank you, Leslie, for being in
Thanks, Jane.
being my friend and my mentor, and someone I admire so much.
And it is completely mutual. As I finish out, first of all, let me remind you that I'm going to do for you what I always do, because you know I love doing this. I'm going to put Jane's contact information, how to get a hold of her, the name of her company, her website, all of that right there in the program notes. So be sure, go check the program notes, like, share, and subscribe. What you saw today, yes, it's 2 friends having a conversation, but it is also 2 mentors having a conversation. It is not a hard thing to be mentored, and it is not a hard thing to mentor. So please give it a try. And as you go forward with the rest of your day, I want you to remember, you are stronger and you are wiser than you know.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you received inspiration for expanding your own social innovation and influence. Help us inspire others by sharing this episode and leaving your comments over at lesliemichaels.com/podcast. For more tips, insights, and support in creating a fully audacious, professional, and personal lifestyle you love, visit our Women We Should Know community on Facebook.